the Red Bull Stratos campaign.
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing they used GoPros to film quite a lot of it.
True. They don't even need to have used GoPros.
Oh, that's so
They
true.
could have used any camera, but we'll just say
it's a GoPro.
they use
Oh
GoPros.
my word.
So
Take
carry
my
on.
eyes. Welcome back, guys, to the very 10th episode of the very second season of BriightCast. How's it going, guys?
It's going really well. And Drew, may I just say, that intro has left a great impression.
Oh, okay.
I hope.
Did it capture your attention quickly?
Maybe, but that's what we're discussing today. But before we get into that, what have we been on? Jess, what have you been up to this week?
We had a big strategy meeting with a client yesterday for their new quarterly campaign. So running through what went well in the previous campaign, how we'd improve things, and basically how we can smash their marketing goals again.
Yeah, it was a nice little consultancy session, giving their internal marketing some tips on things that they can do day to day to help their overall strategy, but diving into a lot of data, which is cool.
Yeah. And then a lot of ad work recently, so delving into ad clients and just updating everything. We do a big 3-month refresh on things like display ad imagery and copy and everything. Obviously, there's day-to-day optimizations, but ever so often you need some fresh copy in there.
And Drew, what have you been on this week? What's been taking up your talented time?
Yeah, we've just we thought we'd wrapped in a big 5-month project for a client. They've just come back for Secret Extra Phase 6, so that's cool. We've just been doing that. We've been packaging up some of our own stuff because we're about to share a absolute ton of content that we've been creating over the past couple of weeks. And as soon as this pod's done, we're going to get the studio turned around because we've got a client of ours coming in to do their own shoot. They're basically hiring our studio space to do a week of shooting next week.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And I've been helping on both. The strat stuff was good, ad stuff was good, and then I've just been thinking about our own marketing. So yeah, we're our own client launching this new phase and things now that we're ready to roll out. So that's been exciting as well.
Okay, so what's our main topic this week?
Maximizing the 50 milliseconds you get to make an impression. So that's the time it takes from someone to land on a landing page or see your piece of content or anything connected to your company, the time it takes for them to form an initial impression about your company and about the content that you're creating.
I'm going to call BS on it because I don't think anybody could ever actually get any meaningful impression of anything in 0.05 seconds. Do you think they could?
Yes. But you go first. You elaborate. Because it's the principle of...
The principle of it's fine, yeah.
It's the principle of, you make a very quick impression.
Yeah.
And often it's not based on, written word, spoken word, things like that. It's a visual impression a lot of the time. And it's a feeling people get from what you're putting out there.
0.25 seconds is the average reaction time for you to react to visual stimulus.
Right.
That's already 5 times longer than 0.05.
But that's just the average person. It's not like me, is it? That's like the average person.
You would be like 0.5. Be worse. 0.17 for audio stimulus, 0.15 for touch stimulus. So no matter how we're engaging people, video, audio, or by touch, they aren't reacting within that time. But it's just a principle, like you say. It's just a number people say to try and give like the lesson of it. It's like 5 a day. You don't need to eat 5 a day, really. 1 would be fine.
True. It's like you don't need to drink 8 glasses of water.
1 would be fine.
You don't even need to drink water.
1 would be fine.
A sink beer a day would be fine.
So you don't even need to have multiple kids.
2 would be fine. But yeah, so it's just a principle of it, and I think the principle is true. No one's going to debate that. First impressions count. That's basically what they're saying. They're saying it in a ridiculous way. 0.05 seconds. Whoever made that up is crazy. But the principle is right. So let's talk us through it. Jess, what's delve us in? What's this about?
It's basically looking at how first impressions count.
Yeah.
How quickly people can make a first impression about your business and why you can't always guarantee that they're going to see every piece of your content and why each piece of content needs to portray what you want that person to think.
It's a feeling people get from your brand and what you're putting out there, isn't it? I think a great example I've got, and it came across recently, was it was a client of ours which we've done a whole new visual identity for them and started building it up. So everything across the board, from their revamped logo to their social content to their website, all looking better, on point, and they're getting compliments and standing out and everything that you want to do. And then they sent across a video for some help with, and that they'd recorded, and it had their slides in there. It had their slides in there for the video, and they wanted to send the slides in their follow-up to a webinar they'd done. And the slides didn't take any of the visual identity across. And it was just instantly, if you're in that webinar and you're presented with these very basic slides, I think it just doesn't position you in the right place. And the impression is a negative one straight away.
Yeah. From branding to blanding.
Yeah. It was worse than that. It was like clip art, drag and drop kind of stuff. And I know people say like, oh, in a webinar, it's all about the content as in the, the messaging and everything and the education you're delivering. But you're doing it really to gain some supporters.
We're on about impressions, aren't we? We're on about impressions right now, and it's a bad impression.
Yeah.
You want a good impression, and also the whole point of it is we're on about quick impressions.
Yeah.
And right away with bland or stuff that's beyond bland, below bland, the impression's not going to be good, is it?
Yeah.
And you've got to do it incrementally. You can't just redo everything all at once because it takes time and resources and money or man hours. Yeah. But you need to be looking at that journey all the way through. Now, people put on webinars for a multitude of reasons, but mostly it's to generate leads or soft leads and just inquiries. But that's where that attention's needed then for the impression making, right?
Yeah. It's the impression afterwards as well. It's kind of you're being sent these slides. If you took the audio away from the webinar they've just delivered, what impression are they getting from those slides?
Yeah.
And then if you took the slides away, what impression are they getting from your people as well? It's like if a multi-million-pound company did a webinar and the person delivering it showed up in their pajamas.
Yeah.
It is that like initial impression you're then like setting those up with. It's kind of, well, you couldn't be bothered to look presentable. You couldn't be bothered to put the slides in things like that. So then it's kind of like, so what importance are you giving me with the information? Are you going to give me information that's going to make me sit here for an hour and going to be valuable for my time, or am I going to find other uses of my time that's better?
And everyone needs to make a good impression. But this company in particular, they're after really like high profile contracts, and they have these people in their webinars that are looking for new thinking, and these guys do the new thinking, but there was a real disconnect there. And so I feel like it was the wrong impression to put out.
We've been talking about first impressions today as well in the studio upstairs because we've been chatting thumbnails.
Yeah.
Thumbnails are a really important way of creating that first impression. Like you think of, if you think of things where you instantly recognize them and you instantly get, obviously an impression doesn't have to be something that's new. For instance, if you see the Golden Archers, you're only a stone's throw away from 20 nugs. So we were basically looking at loads of different channels, thumbnails, weren't we?
Yeah.
And we were looking at like what makes those channels instantly identifiable. Yeah, just from the thumbnails, basically, because that's the first thing you're going to see.
Yeah, and it plays an important role. And you'll see a lot of influencers, and they talk about this in like any BTS stuff, where they discuss how they experiment and they optimize. If things aren't performing in the first hour or two, they'll switch it up and go for a different thumbnail or a different title. Yeah, because those impressions matter, and they can see, easily with the results.
I also think you guys are probably going to hate me for saying this, but the design doesn't necessarily always matter within thumbnails, as in like it doesn't have to be this well-crafted image. It needs to look good, needs to be on brand and things like that, but it doesn't have to be the next sort of billboard that you're going to put out about your company. Yeah. It needs to have that good first impression and be clickable. Yeah. Rather than it being sort of a Mona Lisa. It's just, no one's necessarily clicking on that because it's sort of how well it's designed. It's how good the video is going to be. It's that sort of, it's like an email. If you don't have a good subject line, no one's clicking on that email to then see the email. So your email could look incredible, but no one's going to see it unless they click it. Same as the video. Your video could be amazing, but unless your thumbnail's getting that first impression and having a lasting first impression and getting them to click on it, there's no point in posting the video.
Yeah, I don't hate you for saying that. I hate you, but not for saying that. For me, I think as long as you got that like one central thing in the thumbnails, if we're talking thumbnails and first impressions of thumbnails, if you got one central thing or one bit in it that ties everything else together, I think that gives you that good recognizable first impression. So if we were looking at people like Corridor Crew and stuff like that, like they just use yellow block text, but you kind of know that that's their video, and the thumbnails will look completely different, but you know, MKBHD, it's just a shot of him. And obviously he's a recognizable YouTuber. So he is the branding that ties
same
it
with
all
Mr.
together.
Beast. He's just got his stupid open mouth grin on every thumbnail.
People like him. And it works for them.
It's the balancing things, because I was really at odds with this, because I love things to look branded. I love things to look cool. But then you've got to balance with what actually works. Because like you said, Jess, like the content of the video, like you're putting it out because you believe in it and you're confident in it, and it gives, you know, great value or entertainment. But if no one watches it, what's the point? So the thumbnail, it's a really small detail, or people perceive it as small, but it's bigger than you actually think to make that impression on actually getting people to open it up.
I saw a clip of like the Sidemen, for example, who are like some of the biggest YouTubers at the moment, and they hired a designer who tried to like change the way they do their thumbnails. And some of the members of Sidemen were like, it's just not going to perform. Like, it looks great. Yeah. And they started doing these like movie posters to post on stuff like Twitter and Instagram and stuff. And they're great for that. Yeah. But then having this overly designed thumbnail that isn't intriguing or having that first impression, it was just bombing their like views and clicks and things.
Yeah.
It's like they know what works, and they're obviously going to keep doing what works.
You know, you can still make your thumbnails look good.
Yeah.
But it's some kind of central thing that ties it all together.
Yeah. It's creativity within boundaries, isn't it, really? It's, you know, every creative outlet, there are boundaries set, and you've just got to try and play within them a little bit, but still inject your own personality.
Yeah.
So for us, for thumbnails, our decision really was to strip them back a little bit, but there's still, the ones we've been looking at, there's still quite a cool, you know, little flair in there, which is nice.
And if you're thinking, wait, what are these thumbnails these guys are talking about? You can find out for yourself by going onto our YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/@wearebright, or just search Bright with 2 eyes and we'll pop up.
Yeah. And I dare anyone who's listening or watching this to look at those thumbnails and not click on them. They're going to be irresistible.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to click on them, I think you've won. So then click on them. Treat yourself.
As a little reward.
Yeah. Nice.
For doing such a great job. Nice.
Another big example of making a first impression within that short window is your website.
Yeah.
It's as soon as someone's clicked on your website, and that could be through social, your email, pay-per-click campaigns, organically, wherever, your website is this lead hub. It's where people are going to find out more about you, view case studies, and get in touch. So having sort of a good first impression on your website is crucial.
Yeah. If you've not updated your website in a couple of years, you got to be thinking about, what impression are we making now? You know, and it might be great. You might look at it and be like, yeah, that's great. Or you might conduct a bit of customer research and put out a survey, ask people to review them. There's a couple of sites that I used in the past which are good. And yeah, it might be fine. Chances are it's not, and it needs a bit of work. So have a look at that impression that you need. And it's different to the thumbnail, which is really research and based on an algorithm on what works, where your website still experiment with it, but it's different in that you want to look different and give someone definitely a different experience to make that impression as well.
And that's through design and copy, so through imagery and the design of your site.
Well, if we're talking on the rapid response, it's take the copy out of there.
Yeah. But I guess it's that like first headline though. Like if you go onto a website and there's like 5 words that instantly sort of, that's the first thing they land on your website. If that's the same tagline as 5 of your competitors, they're clicking on out of there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's summarize it then. So we've basically just spoken about optimizing your digital touch points.
Yeah.
So making sure your website's fully optimized.
Yeah.
If you haven't checked it in a while, check it.
Yeah.
See how you can optimize that. But the same with all your social profiles.
Yeah.
So if we ever take a client on and we have to look at content for their social platforms, we're looking at, you know, do they have all of the proper branding across every single platform? Does it look kind of erratic and stuff?
Yeah.
If
it's even taking a step back from that and saying like, is your brand fit for purpose, if that makes sense? Is your brand solidified enough to make sure all these touch points are aligned?
Yeah.
Do you even have like a visual identity, or is it just kind of, if you created a logo 10 years ago by yourself, but you didn't think about this long-term visual strategy, and you're kind of now like haphazardly going, here's the color orange and here's a circle, So making sure that like that's then built for purpose to then solidify, like you say, your social platforms and your asset creation.
Yeah, obviously our original company logo was basically an orange circle, so that was an attack. That's cool. We'll move on.
Orange hexagon, guys.
Hexagon,
I use a different shape.
Yeah,
They're round,
you're talking
kind of, aren't they?
brand consistency,
Yeah.
which helps contribute to those impressions, those quick impressions across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we spoke about just the visual elements that give you those really, really quick impressions.
Yeah.
The stereotypical 50 millisecond impressions.
Yeah.
So we're talking visual elements like logos, colors, typography, how those would come together on something like a thumbnail, for instance, we spoke through.
Yeah.
And I think all of it basically feeds into brand story.
Yeah.
Okay. So like if you've got, a fully homogenized social platform,
Yeah.
and everything is together, everything makes sense together, your brand story is going to be stronger for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this whole point of like optimizing everything for those first 50 milliseconds feeds into brand story.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. It's the quick impressions that have to be right to contribute to your long-term impression.
Yeah.
Basically, your overall thing.
Yeah, it's kind of even if I turn around to one of you and said like, what do you think Airbnb is? Like, what impression do you have on Airbnb? You'd be able to say like 5.
Scammers.
I'd probably be able to say something really smart and connected to this topic, and everyone would love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you'd have your own impression on these things. So it's kind of like if you took a logo and some colours off things, what impression do you actually have of that company without? I think you mentioned it earlier, Drew, before we started filming about like GoPro, for example. If there's some video footage of someone jumping off a cliff or free falling or rock climbing, and then the GoPro logo was presented to you at the end of it, you're not surprised by that. Yeah. It's stuff like Airbnb. I know I brought Airbnb back up, but today's sponsor
Someone's going on holiday.
But if you brought Airbnb up and you were shown like unique stays and like cottages and farmhouses and stuff, and then you're presented with the Airbnb logo, you have that impression where it's unique stays.
And you can look at Airbnb as well.
Airbnb is a great example, Rob.
Okay, so on that vibe of brand story then. And obviously, we've given you just said, obviously, we were talking earlier about the GoPro one. We've mentioned Airbnb, I think a couple of times so far, right? We mentioned Airbnb a couple of times, or at least Jess has.
I'm actually using Airbnb in August.
Okay.
Which will be great.
Great stuff.
Because they offer a great service.
And I'm hoping from this pod that we're all going to get 50% off discounts.
Yeah, definitely. They're a company that look after people. So... Other brand story then. What other examples can we think of, and how are we going to fit these to a 50 millisecond rule?
Well, just to bring it back to the GoPro thing, what shows the importance of and genius of building an overall impression is you don't even need to see the GoPro logo at the end of a self shot strapped to your camera, adrenaline search, sports sequence video online. There's loads of rivals that have come out, but you still just call it a GoPro, right?
Oh, it's just it's Google for search engines, isn't it? GoPro is it? If it's a sports camera that you pop on your head or something or wear, it's a GoPro. We use the Insta360 for a bunch of stuff. Yeah. But if anyone sees it, they're calling it a GoPro. So is that immediate recognition? Yeah.
Yeah. And that plays into the brand story that GoPro have invested so heavily in to form that ultimate impression, isn't it?
So kind of connected up, and I'll probably talk about the Red Bull Stratos campaign, which I'm guessing they used GoPros to film quite a lot of it. But it's when Felix Baumgartner.
Drew, they don't even need to have used GoPros.
Oh, that's so true.
They could have used any camera, but we'll just say
it's a GoPro. Oh my word! Take my eyes.
You was talking about my man Felix.
Yeah. So Felix Baumgartner, I think his name is. When he jumped from the stratosphere and fell to Earth, the campaign was basically just like showing Red Bull's association with extreme sports, as GoPro has it, and adventure. And I think that is like the everlasting thing that viewers and the audience of Red Bull kind of think about when we think of Red Bull, apart from, a couple of Voddy Red Bulls on night out. Yeah. Revolution. But it's that idea that this energy drink is associated with adventure, action sports, thrill seeking, because of that brand storytelling of the campaigns like Stratos with Felix Baumgartner, like the Red Bull, the race they do with the planes, whatever it's called. They do is it the cardboard one as well?
Soapbox thing.
Soapbox thing, yeah. All of those kind of all feed into this brand story that, yes, just this random energy drink, or not random, but just this, this energy drink that you wouldn't associate with these things by its nature, but you do because
I recently saw
great brand storytelling.
Yeah, definitely. And brand storytelling's helped them steal market share from someone like Coca-Cola, right? They released, and I saw a post about this, which is like counterintuitive marketing, in that they released an energy drink that's got more sugar, tastes worse, and, has more caffeine in, which are all the three things, and is more expensive in a smaller can. And they've taken market share, and it's real like counterintuitive for the ways you would try and traditionally disrupt, in that you'd make it cheaper, you'd give it more or whatever like that. But they've done it through that brand storytelling.
And I think another really good example is, and I think it's an example that like not many people really talk about, like you don't really see it on LinkedIn, you don't see it, marketers and content creators don't really talk about it that much, would be the Dollar Shave.
So we spoke about some really good examples about global companies. What advice would you give to sort of SMEs that are trying to make a lasting impression and a lasting first impression as well?
A big thing is to follow through and look at everywhere someone can see your company in the digital space or real world space, and make sure you've got the right impression and consistent impression throughout.
Yeah, so it's that we spoke about it earlier. It's the optimizing digital touch points, which is a really like silly way of just saying, making sure everything you have on all of your social platforms, all of your online identity is together, is coherent, and it's connected. So if you've got a brand new visual identity, for instance, which is another thing you should definitely look at and invest in for this immediate first impression. If you've got that, make sure that's rolled out everywhere.
I'd also say look at the things that other businesses have given you a negative impression about. So like slow site speeds, or not being able to find certain things, or other things that have made a bad impression to you. Does your company do it? Yeah,
that's a really nice way of tackling that. And you can do it in the stage, say you're building a new website, you can do it in the stage where part of the research and competitor research. So you're ideally looking for differentials of positioning for marketing purposes, but differentials in terms of site speed, layout, like is it clear? Is there a good customer journey? Things like that. And that's where your impression is made, because you want to connect it. So ask how people are going to find your site. If you're running a Google ad campaign, they're going to be, what are they searching? And then are you answering that? Are you answering it clear? And is there a nice like step process for them to follow through? Yeah. They're all just really fast impressions that you're going to make.
Yeah. Even stuff down to like email newsletters.
Yeah, I was going to say,
is it really
subject lines, right? Yeah. Stuff like that, just for subject line.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Are you giving across, the level of expertise, your personality, and you can do that within 10 words.
Yeah. Yeah. And then once they've clicked on that newsletter, is it providing the information you want them to get from it?
Yeah.
Is it giving 30 CTAs? They don't know where to look because you've got flashy images everywhere. It's not on brand, so they don't really know who it's come from. Yeah. You've got a random name from the sender.
Yeah.
Sort of nothing's tied to your brand. That first impressions, they're going to delete it, aren't they?
And if everything leading up to that, everything leading up to signing up for the newsletter and receiving that newsletter, if that's all great, and then you do one thing wrong, like the newsletter layout itself, if it's really janky, it can undo everything. Like earlier, I clicked like that, and I can't click properly. So that impression of me could undo everything else that I've ever said. People will be like, this moron can't even click, and he's trying to tell us how to market our, £1 million business right now.
Yeah, I didn't realize you couldn't click when we joined the company. So.
Look, all you need to know is it makes the noise. It makes a click noise, and it's quick.
What are you doing? What's the click?
So how do you click? Yeah, so you're like that to that? Yeah. I don't do that.
What are you doing?
I do, if you're doing, I do the rabbit,
right,
but it's like that.
Yeah, that's fine. You're still clicking.
Yeah, maybe actually. So that is a good impression. So I'm doing the same thing, but in a new, interesting, cool way.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put that spin on it. That brand story of Rob.
Cool. And what a great note to end this podcast on as well.
Yeah,
talking about how you can't click in a traditional way.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's
lasting
that
impressions,
It's that impression that you're gonna learn something, have a little bit of fun, and it might go in strange directions.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. Thanks for listening, guys.
See ya.
Toodles.
Peace out.